welcome to episode 6 of the Trifecta's Arcana. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you how you can be combining the epitomes to really enhance your analysis when it comes to predicting them. So as you see here, we're on gold or XAU USD on the 50-minute. If you look, you can probably see that deceptive foresight is forming right along here, correct? Now, this would be a bullish deceptive foresight formation because if you look, what is happening with the sell side? Sell side getting purged, right? See this? Sell side is being purged, and what's being accumulated up here? Buy side is being accumulated. Okay. So what you can do is you can combine epitomes, such as like if you have two deceptive foresights. So as we see here, we have one on the 15-minute, and then we have one on a higher time frame, which is I think this is the hour. If we jump to the hour, I think it'll be more clear. Yeah, it's way more clear here. So you see how the buy side is being, well, not buy side, but sell side is being accumulated and buy side is being consistently purged. So this would be a higher time frame deceptive foresight right here. So we can highlight this area as a higher time frame deceptive foresight. If we jump back down on the 15-minute, we know that we have this hourly bearish deceptive foresight, and we have this bullish deceptive foresight on the 15-minute. So knowing this, we could be like, okay, this deceptive foresight on the 15-minute might still play out, but instead of it playing out, it's going to use itself as a confluence for the higher time frame epitome, which is the bearish deceptive foresight. So if we really look into the anatomy of this formation here, we can see what it truly did. So obviously we know sell side is getting purged, and we have buy side accumulated here. If we know that this hourly is more important or has more of a strength than a 15-minute foresight or a 15-minute epitome, it's obvious because it's a higher time frame. It's bigger in volume, literally. So we could see price using this epitome to manipulate and then expand down further with this hourly epitome. So let's look at how it really did that. So with the accumulated liquidity here, what it did is after it was done accumulating sell side, or after it was done purging sell side, all it did was it just came up here, purge these highs, right here, purge these highs, liquidity purge. And if you look, this really confirms it's a purge because look at the candle closure. The wicks did the damage by purging this liquidity point here, and then we came back down, closing right below it, showing a willingness to go that this away. And then you have a turtle soup here too with this rejection block. This is the true rejection block here, this right here, but it got expanded down to this because the next candle's wick was within it. So you could have took this turtle soup entry here. So let's set a short position here. Turtle soup, set it right there at the top of the rejection block. And then you can exit whenever there's lack of displacement, which is about here, which would have provided you a good 5 RR. So that's how price can use or combine epitomes to manipulate or expand further into a higher time frame epitome or into just another epitome that's forming within another. And I'll be showing you how that can form also. But that's just one way, or the analogy of what I mean by combining the epitomes or the epitome infusion. Okay. So anyways, enough of me talking about this example. Let me go on to another one so you can understand better. All right, so here's another example that I have highlighted right here. This was about on July 22nd. So I'll be showing you how price infused epitomes in order to move faster with a certain one. So if we look, right, we already see that price is accumulating in a bearish formation. So this would be a bearish deceptive foresight, correct? Because if we look, sell side is being purged. Sell side is being purged, and what's being accumulated? Buy side. Buy side is being accumulated. So we highlight this, bam. We have a accumulated buy side liquidity here. So, and if you look even further, this is what I mean by combining two epitomes. If you looked at the Cunning Catalyst episode, because I know some people are going to skip and just skip past videos. So if you haven't watched the Cunning Catalyst, you really should, because you probably have no idea what I'm talking about from this point on. So Cunning Catalyst is when price is accumulating a liquidity on both sides of the accumulation range. Because if we look here in this little area, you have an accumulation of sell side and then an accumulation of buy side right there. Uh-oh, if I can drag this out. Right there. Accumulation of buy side and accumulation of sell side. Let me hide this real quick. or delete it. We can put it back there later. But you see this, how we have an accumulation of sell side and accumulation of buy side, but we also have this bearish deceptive foresight. So this bearish deceptive foresight is going to continue lower. It's going to continue with this cunning catalyst. So it's still forming. It's still going to accumulate liquidity, but it's just going to follow up with this catalyst. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if we look with cunning catalyst, you want to see one side of the accumulation range get purged first. In this case, it would be buy side. So this would be the manipulation run of the cunning catalyst. So since we had a manipulation on buy side, we want to see an immediate run back down on sell side. And I don't even have to say anything because you can see it right here, obviously. But you see how buy side got purged first, and it did it efficiently too. Remember, if I taught you about price efficiency, and I think a couple episodes ago, but price efficiency is basically when price is moving in a certain direction but not displacing, okay, and or creating any imbalances. And if an imbalance is created, it's filled immediately, as seen here. It created an imbalance and then up, immediate rebalance. That's what you get. But anyways, we see that it came down, created a change in state of delivery here. So once we saw this change in state of delivery with this fair value gap, we could have easily took this order block. Whoa, wrong tool, but we could have easily took this order block once it came up to it, and that would be your entry there, because on this candle is when it came back up to it. So right here on this order block, you could set it right there at the top of the order block, move it over so we can see this better. Boom, like that. And then you can get out whenever there's a lack of displacement, which is right about here. So that would be 4 or really 5 RR, to be honest. So this example would have gave you a pretty good 5 RR. Let me explain this again because I don't really think I explained it good enough to where you can understand. But you see how price is accumulating down. So that means we want to go up, but cunning catalyst wants to go lower. Okay, because this cunning catalyst formation here, deceptive foresight says, okay, we want to accumulate lower. Okay, that's the whole idea. That's the whole picture. We want to accumulate lower. But this piece of the puzzle says we want to go a little bit lower before we head up and come and purge all this accumulated buy side. And if we look, eventually, it did come back up to that buy side. It did. And then eventually rejected off of it because another epitome formed right here, deceptive foresight. You can probably see it already. But that's just a combination of deceptive foresight and cunning catalyst, okay? And you have to pay attention to how the epitomes form and how they use each other too. Because you can't just, it is not like a model. You have to actually look at what it's doing because it'll tell you. There's no like a certain combination of models and it'll be like, okay, it's doing this, it's doing that. There's no like specifics, okay? If you see two epitomes forming within each other or one after another or one before it or one inside of another on a higher time frame, look and pay attention to the epitome. Pay attention to the actual formation of the epitome and what it's telling you. And also, you don't have to just use the epitome. You can use other confluences to confirm or to really help you understand what the epitome is doing. Because if we look here, if we use no confluences, we would have been like, why is it heading up? This little head up or move up here was a purge of buy side. Simple purge of buy side. Okay? So purge of buy side, and if you look, it was truly a purge because what did price do? We had a candle closure. After we purged a high with the wick, we came straight back down with the body and closed below it. Simple, right? Very simple. So that is just a simple explanation of how price can combine epitomes to move in a certain direction or to just follow up with its plan. But actually, this little red box here is another example. If I go drop down to like the 5 minute or so, and I go to, I think it was July 11th, something around here. This is going to take me a pretty good while to find wherever this little thing is. Okay, right here. Yes, right here. I found it. I might edit that out, but I don't think so. But anyways, okay. So, obviously we're looking here, and we see that which side is being purged. Sell side. Simple, right? Real simple. Sell side is being purged. Well, I don't have my tool, but sell side is being purged, okay? So the lows are being purged, and what's happening with the buy side, it's being accumulated, okay? So we have an accumulation of buy side and a purge, a continuous purge of sell side, okay? And if we look, deceptive foresight and cunning catalyst is forming within each other again, okay? And this is the same thing that happened with the last example, okay? So the deceptive foresight says, okay, we want to accumulate lower. We want to accumulate lower, but eventually we want to go up and purge all that accumulated buy side. But cunning catalyst said, okay, we're going to form, but we want to go a little bit lower just to reach it more into this imbalance here, and then shoot up into all that buy side. And that's exactly what it did. Because if we look, what did it do first? With cunning catalyst, you want to see a move on one side of the accumulation range first. And what did we do? We came and had a manipulation move on sell side. So once we see this, we want to see an immediate move back into this buy side. And I don't even have to say anything because you can see here that price manipulated into sell side, or the sell side of the curve, and then came right back up and expanded into the buy side of the curve. Simple. It's a combination of a bearish deceptive foresight and cunning catalyst. There's not really a bearish or bullish cunning catalyst because it's based on what it does first. If it manipulates to the buy side or sell side, so whichever side it manipulates first is what's going to determine what type of status it is, such as bullish or bearish. So this would be a bullish cunning catalyst plus a bullish deceptive foresight. But the cunning catalyst told you that we wanted to head a little lower into a deeper discount before displacing all the way back into this all these accumulated buy side here. Simple, very simple, right? But anyways, next example. All right, so here we are with our next example. This does look pretty outrageous, but if you look already, and you probably already noticed, but this would be a bullish deceptive foresight, because if we look, we have a what? We have an accumulation of sell side. If I can move this a little lower like that, yeah. So we have an accumulation of sell side, and then we have a continuous purge of what? Continuous purge of buy side. Simple, right? Very, very simple. So continuous purge of buy side with an accumulated sell side of the accumulation range. So this would be overall a bearish deceptive foresight, okay? Because we're accumulating sell side and continuously purging buy side. So if you look, the second box here, well, what do you think is forming there? What do you think is forming? Is another cunning catalyst. Now, I will keep in mind that the combination of two epitomes rarely occurs. So if you see this, it is a high chance, or a really high chance, that it is a high quality setup or high quality epitome formation. So if we look at this cunning catalyst, we see that it's accumulating buy side and sell side, okay? So we want to wait and see which side is going to have a manipulation run on, or have a run on. And if we look, it had a run on buy side, okay? And you can confirm that this is a purge. We can look at the candle closure. If we look at the candle closure, we came straight up to the high, came right back below it, and closed below it. Simple. Very, very simple. So that right there, that little candle closure confirmed that this was a purge right here. So we came up, attacked, and or purged these highs, so we can see a immediate run below these lows here, or this accumulated sell side within cunning catalyst. So this cunning catalyst basically confirms that is that the higher time frame bearish deceptive foresight is really going to have a pretty good run. And if we zoom out and look, it did have a pretty good run. It had a pretty good run, really. So if you would have took an entry, probably around like, I'm sure on the lower time frame there would have been some sort of entry. I'm on the 5 minute, but if we go to probably the 3 minute, I'm sure there was like some sort of change in state of delivery or break of structure on the lower time. I'm sure of it. But if we look, the cunning catalyst and deceptive foresight formed at the same time. So it was a bearish cunning catalyst plus a bearish deceptive foresight. And if we look, like I said, if you see something form like this, it's telling you that it's going to be a pretty big run. And if we look, it was a damn good run. It was a damn good run. Like really, a really damn good run. Like if you would have caught all this and you risked about, I don't know, if you would have risked about like 5% and just like rode it all the way down, you probably would have got like at least 30 to 40% return. That's just crazy. I'm not gonna lie. That's just wild. But that's just how powerful these models are, especially when they're infused together. It's crazy. But anyways, I'm going to do another example, and then I'll let you backtest it yourself so you can really see how this works. And remember, these things don't form all the time. The Epitome Infusion rarely forms. So if you see this, just go ahead and mark that out and be ready. Anyways, next example. All right, so here we are with our final example. We're here on the NASDAQ, or NQ1, or NAS 100, or the NAS 100 index, whatever you want to call it. If you see here with this box, if we look on a higher time frame, we can obviously eyeball that a bearish, or well, actually a bullish deceptive foresight is forming with a bearish deceptive foresight. Now, with this, if two of the same epitomes form within one, that's when you want to start including confluences. That's when you want to start including other concepts to really confirm what it's going to do. So let's go ahead and mark out our levels. If we look, we have an accumulated side of buy side. Go ahead and pull that out. Wow. If we look, we have a what? We got a purge of sell side, continuous purge of sell side, like this. Right there. There's a continuous purge of sell side. Wow. So, if we look here, what is formed here? A bearish deceptive foresight within a bullish deceptive foresight. Very confusing, right? So, all this was, this box here is the bearish deceptive foresight, by the way. So, if you can remember, I will be removing this now so I can actually do stuff here. But, if we look, right, now let's add some confluences. We can see that when price came up to these highs here, within the deceptive foresight, it didn't even run above it. It didn't really run above it. So that's a confluence. And if we see here, it came right back up to that accumulated level, or that accumulated liquidity level, and started resisting off of that. So what this is telling us is that this bullish deceptive foresight isn't ready yet. We're going to continue manipulating or accumulating downward before we have a run on this accumulated buy side. And if you look, before I even got to the example, I probably already spoiled it, but we eventually came right back to those highs. We did. I don't even have to say anything. You can eyeball it right there. So, but if we really look at the anatomy of this bearish to bullish deceptive foresight, this bearish deceptive foresight was telling you, with this change of state of delivery with the break of structure, it's telling you that we want to manipulate lower before we go any higher into that accumulated buy side. So we came to this fair value gap in this order block, which is a change of state of delivery with a nice break of structure, telling us that we want to manipulate down. And you could have caught this trade. Not saying that you don't want to trade the manipulation. You can trade the manipulation. That's what I'm teaching you right now. I'm teaching you how the epitomes can be used as a combination as manipulation and expansion. The previous two examples was how you can use them as expansion. But it's not a model. It's not a specific type thing to where, oh, you want to see this form and then you want to see that form. It's nothing specific. All you have to do is, if you see this, you have to pay attention and really look. That's all I have to tell you. And over time of like looking at it and seeing it over time, you will get better and better and better. It's just simple screen time. It's just simple adaptation when it comes to looking at charts all the time. Or if you're doing something for a long, long time, playing video games, you're going to eventually adapt to the game because you've been playing it for such a long time. Same thing with this. This isn't like a model, okay? I'm just teaching you on how this can form. And if it does form, pay attention and lock onto it immediately, because it can signal either a manipulation or a very, very strong expansion with a certain epitome. And if we look here, this was manipulation, but just because it's manipulation doesn't mean you can't trade it. Because if you would have caught this, you would have made some pretty good amount of money. I'm not gonna lie. Just off of this price efficient purge here, and then this change of state of delivery, that's perfect. Perfect setup for me. I don't know about y'all, but that's a pretty good setup. And then if we look later, we did come straight back up into those accumulated highs here. And then you could have took a setup on the 1 minute, probably took like a turtle soup of a previous low back here, right down here, because we see we have this rejection block. So definitely something was souped over here. Probably like some sort of high time frame for right gap. And then you could have souped it on the 1 minute down here and rode it all the way back up to the accumulated buy side. And then that would have been a pretty good trade for you. So if we mark our short positions, it would be from this order block, which is right here. Set it at the top of the order block. That's our stop. Then you could get out right when there's a soup, which is probably like around here. So look at that, 3.5 RR, or if you want to say just 3 RR, or 4 RR, same thing. But that would have gave you a pretty good risk to reward. So if you were to risk 4%, you would have made back about 12 to 13%, which is pretty good, if I do say so myself. But even if you souped it, I'm guessing you can say the soup was around this level here. You can say the soup is right here. And you can have your stop right there at the rejection block, and then have your target right there at the accumulated buy side, which would have provided you a good 3 RR, or really 4. But yeah, so 4 RRs all around. And remember, like I said, the epitomes have 100% win rate if they're used right, because they're never wrong. They're never wrong, especially if you look at the Epitome Infusion. They're never wrong. So it has a 100% win rate. You can clown on me whatever you want. You can say, "Oh, it doesn't have a 100% win rate." Go back test it. I'm probably yapping right now, probably blabbering, but seriously, this thing has a 100% win rate if it is used correctly. That's all. That's all I'm telling you. It has a 100% win rate. All you have to do is just learn it, master it, apply it, and use it correctly. That's all I'm telling you. But enough of me yapping. I hope I gave you a pretty good rundown on the Epitome Infusion. But I'll see you in the next episode, which is I have no idea, but I think it's the marionette. I think the marionette is next. But enough of me talking. I know you guys got things to handle and don't want to hear me talking anymore. But anyways, you can click off this video or I'll just end it in 3, 2, 1. Bye.